Hi, everybody. Here, so I can see everything. Okay, so this is 1,785 days. I think so. I don't think I posted it. I probably should have posted it, but it's just been a long day. Um, being the first Sunday after Trinity Sunday. I love Trinity Sunday. um, because of the Athanasius Creed. It's the one Sunday we get to recite the Athanasius Creed. If you haven't done that in your lifetime, it's really well worth it. It's amazing creed, and it just well, you'll just have a skip in your walk. You'll have a skip in your walk. Do it. It's just amazing. Um, we have to know um, why things happen, right? And um, there's no better way in understanding it than to understand the Trinity: God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost. And the Athanasius Creed is really the best explanation for it. And so, yeah, this is the first Sunday after Trinity Sunday, and it is June 22nd, 2025. We're 1,785 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room, and his life was taken from him because he was a whistleblower, because he was a witness. He was a witness. This was witness intimidation, and it's more than just a witness because he was a U.S. Army soldier, and so that gives him protections, right? It gives him also official status. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on so late. Well, we're doing pretty good. We're at 11. I try to get on at 10. I try to get on at 10, but so many things happen. Like today, I try to get on, and information was just flowing in about Marlon Soto. So tomorrow I'll have more about that because, we just had to organize all the names that were coming in and all the connections that expose the corruption of Marlon Soto, the CID agent that was assigned to us, to our son's case. There, the lead CID agent over Tavita Nusa, and Tavita Nusa, of course, had his badge revoked, um, terminated in 2021. And Marlon Soto just lied to us over and over again, and he has major connections that expose his corruption. And of course, with the Richard's car, just I can't tell you how much he lied to us. It's like if you took a breath and said one word, it was a lie. It was just us. He is just such a traitor, and it's really heartbreaking because he's the one that heard our desperation. Our desperation for truth. I talked to him for hours on the phone, hours and hours and hours, day after day after day. And what a cold-blooded traitor! What a cold-blooded traitor! Um, you know, and of course, he lied to us about Nadal Bayim and all of the connections that he absolutely knew because he is co-conspirator. He's a co-conspirator with Nadal Bayim. He's a co-conspirator with Jaime, um, Hema, Xochitl Ruggiero, with Jay Paulin, with the generals, with everything. He's a co-conspirator with Bob Moore. Bob Moore is a big co-conspirator of this. He's not just a reporter. He's a co-conspirator. He's the capo. I hope I'm saying that right. Capo. Um, yeah, he is the fixer. He's the fixer for the billionaire, right? The billionaire fixer. Um, and then, so that information was just really coming in, which is absolutely, about, um, well, we've had a lot of information, come in over the years about, Marlon Soto Hernandez. And, it's just, uh, identifying all the crimes, documenting all the crimes, and then filing all the crimes. And it's just been absolutely turbo since the beginning of this. Every day, um, and people watching this understand that it's every day is new information coming in, right? Because we've connected Marlon Soto with the Pueblo, with the IDS Pueblo, which connects to James Hart. That's what I want to share with you in the next few days. It's just shocking. All of these connections. It's just really a criminal syndicate, a criminal organization, criminal crime group, that from uh, billionaires all the way down to compromised soldiers, because what you see is that they have family problems, they have um, child care to pay for, they have child support they have to pay for, they get in the rears. They overextend with vehicles and housing, and then they declare bankruptcy, and they're in big trouble, and they're vulnerable. And then and then they make bad decisions, and they make bad decisions that in the end, they think, okay, I can get away with this, and no, they can't. No, they can't. I think people forget that God is no buttercup. God holds each and every one of us accountable. I mean, it's a big deal. It's a very big deal. Why do you think Christianity, and I think it's the religion that is attacked the most, why it became so big? And why did they have to develop all of these false narratives to attack it over and over again? From Darwin's Darwin's racist evolution book is just it is, but they just were rebellious against God. It sold out like in a day, and when you read it, please, I tell people to read it just to realize how bad of a book it is, how boring of a book, how how bad it is, how what bad science it is, just to read it, just to see. And but yet it got pushed in education like it was the truth, like it was factual, like it was really good, like it was just wonderful. And it's not. It is absolutely the terriblest thing. And then, of course, they went after the sacraments, you see, the sacraments. And one example, you have to repent and be baptized, right? Repent and be baptized. They didn't like that. They don't like that. So they really, those are the two they really went after. Of course, marriage and that, but they really went after the repent and be baptized. How did they do the repent? Well, they took confession out, right? They took confession out and turned it into a couch, right? Freud turned it into a couch. Like you have to lay there and you have to tell your psych doc, all your problems, and blame it on whatever they, uh, instead of a confession to God, um, they turned it into a couch. And so then you never really got any answers. And this is a fact that we realize they were really lying to us about Richard, because they were giving us these things, like text messages or whatever, things that Richard said. And it was like so absurd, because we have all this history with Richard. And one of those histories is a very, very good friend who is in the mental health um, profession, mental health profession, had been to a huge worldwide conference, and we were having a great party together, and he was talking about it, and he was saying they admitted at the conference that they are going to have to go to the drawing board again for mental health because everything has failed. Everything has failed. All the medication, all of the couches, all of the so-called prescriptions, all of it has failed. And this was in, before Richard, right before Richard joined the military. And, we had this big long discussion, and he was so interested in that. And he knew that all of that had failed for mental health because mental health is just absolutely a huge, huge problem, right? A huge problem. And so it's like the profession that has had zero success. And they were even kind of making jokes. And here he was in the profession himself, and they were making jokes. Um, it was, and that's nothing to joke about, but it was like to make something very serious a little bit easily to understand, because what are the real answers to that? And here you have something amazing happening in Texas, where Governor Abbott, who's really up to no good, it's like, but even a broken clock is right twice a day, right? Even a broken clock is right twice a day, and he got this right. He's putting the Ten Commandments back in the school, which is amazing. It's just wonderful, because if people have a foundation like that, it's a good start. It's a good start. So um, that was a real positive piece of information that was sent to us. And and now, we I got a little off topic with the mental health, but I wanted to really talk about Iran and looking into that. A lot of people want to shoot from the hip right at the get-go and give their opinions right at the get-go. And we were like, well, what is there when it comes to President Trump deciding to bomb these three locations? What is there, right? And of course, and I posted that up. What is there? And it's very important to me. Um, I care about what gets bombed. I care about who gets bombed. I just think that we get lied to, and why are we bombing anyway, right? Why are we bombing anyway? And because President Trump has been so focused on peace and so focused on trying to resolve our son's case, really, and also the Russian Ukraine conflict, and also get peace in the Middle East. I mean, when you look at everything that he is trying to do there, but he's not a king, right? Clearly, he's not a king. He has such dirty politics to play with that are absolutely after him all the time. And I can confirm this. It's not like, oh, I'm just this blind supporter, because I am a supporter of his. But evidence upon evidence upon evidence absolutely confirms that he is under attack all the time. And when you have a bullet that comes by your head, and gets your ear, even if it nicks it, you got this buzz, you never forget that. I don't think you ever forget that. And all of the court that, oh gosh, any kind of legal problem is so hard on you psychologically and physically. And even with of course he's a billionaire, so he can have all these people handle it, but I mean, the vile and vulgar attacks over and over again. And um is just crazy. But it's been absolutely confirmed. And now him saying, I was the hunted and now I'm the hunter, and having the FBI come out with evidence saying that the FBI was working with the CCP, which Okay, red flags go up, and I look at El Paso because I know what's going on, what has gone on in El Paso and the judicial realm, and the political realm, and the law enforcement realm, which includes the FBI and the intelligence realm. And I know that the FBI is up to no good, right? I know that they are, and I know that CCP is all over the front door of the United States, all over that, because of the Mexico connection, and CCP has Mexico in its grips. It's holding it. It's holding it in its. I call it the web because I call the CCP in my mind. I look at it as, you know, some kind of mega evil spider, and it has just wrapped Mexico in its web. And Mexico is just um, uh, the little spiders that are the offspring of this Mexico CCT capture is this cartel network, right? This whole cartel network, many different cartel networks that are absolutely answer to the CCP, depend on the CCP because of the ports, because of the trafficking, because of the grip that it has on there. And so when President Trump, when Director Kash Patel came out and said that the CCP was with the FBI creating driver's license to give to people that are in this country illegally, to let them vote, to affect the election, which is so criminal, y'all. It's an act of war, right? If um, if the CCP and if Mexico is part of that, is trying to affect our elections, that's an act of war, right? And so that is huge news. And then right after that, it's like, um, Israel, who, Netanyahu, we all know he's up to no good. He has a lot of problems. He's facing a lot of problems in Israel, because of, they're not happy about 2020, 2021, 2022, all the restrictions and all the coercion that was going on at that time, that ended so many lives. He's not a very popular person, and so all of a sudden he's attacking Iran. He's attack not even wanting to finish the job. So the whole purpose is to bring in the United States, and you hear a lot of people shoot from the hip and say, "Oh, if Israel says jump, America says how high." But look, if any of our allies, if Ireland, we have a huge connection with Ireland. If Ireland did the same thing, I know everyone has their opinions about all the control and everything, but if like Japan, something was going on with Japan, or something was, there's many different places in the world that, countries in the world that if they got into problems, the United States would absolutely help. And Israel is one of them. And Israel, if you've been there, you understand that is a huge, um, it's so interesting to go there because it's such a mix of people and culture, right? It's such a mix of culture, and different people and people from all over the world. And so, just because of that, this freedom to have so many different people there, um, with so many different cultures, it's like it creates a culture. You have to go there to understand it. It's just really, really an amazing place to visit. And if you've been there, you know what I mean. Um, so, of course, it's an ally of ours, right? Of course it is. And when you go there, you see, it, it's kind it's just hard to explain because it has that freedom, that you want. It's not lockstep, right? It's not lockstep, and it's just a beautiful place, because of all that freedom that they have there. And it's a freedom that I don't think that the leadership could even control, right? It's a freedom that even the leadership can. It's kind of like the United States too. It's so ingrained in us to have a melting pot of cultures and people that it has created this this incredible place, um, that's not in lockstep, right? We're not in lockstep. It's um, it's just really amazing. Uh, so so of course, we consider, any leader should consider, um, what's going on with Israel, and even if it makes a mistake, just like we would consider everyone else. So I just didn't want to shoot from the hip, but I also wanted to consider Iran, um, and the history of Iran and what it has gone through. And if you should look through a photo history of Iran, it's just really amazing. And I know that they have some really ancient places there, and it's, because it's Persia, right? It's Persia. It has this long history, and it has 92, 93 million people. It's like huge, huge country, right? So of course we have to consider that. And so you have three places. So what's in those three places that were bombed? Well, one of the first things you can look at is landmarks, and UNESCO landmarks are really easy to find online, and you can see these amazing places. And a lot of times they'll use these UNESCO or these, landmarks to shield them. And so, you have to, look, deeper in all of that. And of course, um, our whole objective is, let's figure this out, because we know this is a diversion. We know this whole thing is a diversion, because who's trying to push it? Ted Cruz, he's diverting from what he's supposed to be doing, and the implications of all of our evidence on him. Um, he's in real trouble, politically, and I would even think legally, for his negligence. And then, of course, uh, Senator Graham, who's our senator, right? Who's a Richard senator. Um, eh, I mean, through the family, and all the things that they should have done, that he really kind of just gave us a finger, really. He's just a wicked man, but he pushes, to send us to war. Who is he working for? He's clearly not working for South Carolina. Carolinians, right? He's not working for South Carolinians. And Ted Cruz is not working for Texans, right? Clearly, he's not. And he even said it with Tucker Carlson. He was working for Israel, and and like I just said, I just kind of backed up Israel. But wait a minute, you're a U.S. senator for Texas. You're not working for Israel. You need to be working for Texas, right? So, it's just the lines have been so fogged, um, and and we want absolutely all eyes on Fort Bliss, all eyes on El Paso. Why? Because we have worked very, very hard investigating, identifying the crime, documenting the crime, and filing the crime. Where does that happen? Where does that happen? It's like, what we have accomplished is right there ready to prosecute, right there ready. We did the work for them. And of course, we want, um, accountability. We want our son's remains, and we want accountability. But we've done all of this investigating, and it needs to be prosecuted. We've done the work for them. They've got it. They've got the evidence. They've got the hard evidence, and they've got the evidence and the hard evidence of the evidence and the hard evidence. They've got the evidence of the cover up and the evidence of the cover up of the cover up. They've got it all. They've got it. And so the focus doesn't need to be on, uh, you know, um, a country far away. and redirection. It needs to be on where they staged and orchestrated a bloody Walmart mass shooting, a mall, let's call it the Sila Vista Walmart and mall mass shooting, right? Where, there's just so much evidence. Um, and evidence on top of the evidence, uh, and then where trafficking is going on that's causing the retaliation, the severe retaliation, continuous retaliation against any whistleblower, and even to taking their life, right? And then the cover up of these huge crimes that are serving billionaires, serving those that want contracts. And so you see that clearly in what Representative Veronica Escobar came out with, going after Trump again, but uh, totally agreeing with all the contracts that he's putting out for Fort Bliss. She won't go after that. She won't. She wants transparency with the ICE, right? I'm trying to figure that stuff out. Um, but she doesn't want transparency in the unresolved um, case of Richard Halliday, who was his life was taken from him, right? And that's her jurisdiction. And that's a U.S. Army soldier and a whistleblower, right? So she doesn't want transparency in that. And she has absolutely worked to conceal everything with this case. And then she conceals all of the shortcomings, illegalities of what's going on in El Paso. So she doesn't want transparency. She is trying to protect the billionaire, right? That is funding her campaigns and everything. And of course, it's connected to Barack Obama. Of course, it's connected to Harris and Biden and all of those investigations that are going on right now, which is connected to then the FBI CCP creating these licenses to give to individuals that don't have the right to vote vote to illegally affect as an act of war the U.S. elections. Right? I mean, when you put it together, you can see clearly what's going on here. So let's look at some comments. Comments are coming in, and you probably would love for Fort Bliss to get attacked. So sad. Why would I want Fort Bliss to get? I want Fort Bliss to be closed down. I want Fort Bliss to be closed down. Do you see what they're doing? They are going on Fort Bliss. They have access, and they are compromising our soldiers. You know who our soldiers are? Our sons and daughters. Our sons and daughters. They're compromising them. They're messing with their mental. That's why there's so much PTSD. They're messing with them physically and mentally. And when you hear about James Hart, when you hear about Marlon Soto, when you hear about what Bob Moore has done, what you hear, when you really look at everything that we have read and all the evidence we have read and seen what they've done, absolutely, I think that immediately Fort Bliss should be shut down. And we're almost at 5 years, and I haven't called for anybody to be attacked, and we have been absolutely attacked, vile, vulgarly threatened, our lives threatened. You just can't even imagine what we've been through, and people that watch every day have definitely a huge idea, but there's a lot of things behind the scenes that we don't even say that we've had to deal with. And even through all of that, our son's life taken brutally. He was dismembered. He was dismembered. And they lied to us about it. They lied to us about he was retaliated against. He was set up, framed, forcibly removed. His life was taken, and he was dismembered. And through all of that, I've never asked for anybody to be attacked. I've asked for accountability, and I've asked for the death penalty to be put on the table. The death penalty, I'm very glad that Texas has the death penalty, and it needs to be put on the table. And let me tell you, they messed up the whole Walmart case. They messed it up. It's the only one, so many deaths, so many victims, and not a death penalty in it. Just a plea, defective plea deals. That's what we got for the millions and millions of dollars. Defective plea deals. And we've exposed that. We've exposed the whole lie of Patrick Crucius randomly selecting El Paso. He didn't randomly select it. He's family with Mayellas. The Mayellas are a big family in the judicial and law enforcement and even mental health community there. He's privileged. He's a totally privileged, comes from a wealthy family, and they did a fraudulent application with zero income, zero expenditures. And, clearly, I can say it, it's 100% a fraud. And that was absolutely the stamp. That was absolutely the document that allowed the law enforcement, the judicial, really the defense team of Joe Spencer, to charge American taxpayers for the defense of Patrick Crucius, not to get a death penalty, but to absolutely line their pockets with millions and millions of dollars for delays, for defective plea deals, and for a political hit job on who? Who was that aimed at? It was aimed at President Trump because he was investigating and Richard was a witness. And let me tell you, if it was anybody else, if it was a different party, Richard would have done the same. It didn't matter for him if it was a Democrat in office or a Republican. What mattered to him is that children were being trafficked. What mattered to him is that weapons and ammunition were being trafficked. It was absolutely grand theft larceny. It was so bad. And we have troops that were being treated in the worst way, like Asia Graham, taken advantage of. That's what mattered to Richard. What mattered to Richard was the crime that was being every day. And there's so many witnesses to it, y'all. But a lot of those witnesses and whistleblowers, right, that we talked to, they had been compromised. They got them in all kinds of way with the parties, with the substances, with the young girls, with weapons, with ammunition, any kind of thing that was unauthorized, and then of course DUIs, and they absolutely compromised, and of course with mental health, that was a huge way of compromising our soldiers too, our service members. They absolutely were so rotten to our sons and daughters. And the fact is, they were rotten to our sons and daughters when they were being paid to have to care for our sons and daughters. Their job was to care for our sons and daughters. They were required to do that, and yet they weaponized what we were paying them, the access. They weaponized the access. They weaponized everything that we entrusted to them against our own sons and daughters. There's a lot of whistleblowers. There's a lot of witnesses. We talked with them. And Glennon Oakley Jr. didn't make it out of there alive, and Asia Graham didn't make it out of there alive, and the witness in her case didn't make it out alive, and her good friend didn't make it out alive, and Richard didn't make it out alive. And there's many more. And the ones that did make it out alive, um, you know, a lot of suffering. We talked to victims of Leilani Hart. Um, shaking, shaking, because she, apparently from their witness testimony to us, she's part of a cartel group. And we absolutely know that the Mexican cartel, but they weren't talking about the Mexican cartel in her case, even though it's absolutely part of it. But Tavita Nusa and her and others that we know absolutely were ruthless. She's been a criminal since before Richard was born, and she's a convicted criminal. And she has a lot of victims. And we've talked to some of them. So, no, I've been and I will humbly say this. I have been very restrained for everything that we have been through, what our family has been through, what they did to my son. I've been very restrained and absolutely trying to do everything legally to make a huge difference. Not to shoot from the hip and just get a quick accountability, like what is it called? Vengeance for my son. A quick vengeance for my son. I didn't want that. We don't want that. We want it the right way so that we can restrain this absolute cartel infiltration and criminal syndicate and all that they have done so that other people don't have to go through this. We want to make people aware so that they don't fall into the traps. Oh, yeah, let's go party. Let's go party. Let's go do this. Oh, yeah, this is so much fun. Let's just stay drunk for 2 years. It's a trap. And the young people think it's just for fun. It's like, oh, yeah, we're just having party every day and getting paid for it. And bringing a 14-year-old girl for 4 months, living in there and making money off of her in the worst kind of way. And they can't see past their nose. They can't see that they are being entrapped, that they're being compromised because they're 18 to 25 years old. I mean, they're full of vim and vigor, and they're just dizzy with it. They're just dizzy with all their vim and vigor. And then all of a sudden they grow up and they say, "What the hell happened? What did I get myself into? What the hell did I do?" And so we're just trying to uh give a warning, and they can listen or not. Some of them will come to their senses and tell their sergeants that are compromised, their so-called leaders that are compromised, that are up to no good, that want to traffic, that want to do all this uh, entrapments themselves. I mean, just ruin. I mean, it's just tell the leaders to stick it, that they're going to have esprit de corps, that they're going to have a character, that they're going to honor their duty, honor their creed, honor their position, honor their uniform, honor the flag, and obey the commander in chief, And it's so easy, but it's so difficult because look at that's what Richard did. He said, I rather burn my money than spend it on whores and blow. He was telling his leadership to stick it. And that's why they came after him. They couldn't tolerate a soldier that wasn't compromised, that was a whistleblower. And everything that they have said about Richard has been debunked. Everything that they tried to stick on him has been totally debunked. Matter of fact, it's made them the criminal. And Bob Moore has been the co-conspirator of it all. The whole thing with the car. When did they take his phone away? When did they start texting from him for him? When did they really take his life? And they couldn't have another Vanessa Guillen. So they dismembered him. And there's evidence upon evidence upon evidence. And there's so much evidence that the Army, with all of its problems, and it has huge problems, in April of 2024, had to declare legally, because the legal problems were so bad for them. And there was crying and gnashing of the teeth when this happened. When those soldiers came to our door and declared Richard deceased, and the evidence kept piling up and piling up, that they had to revise the documents. And that was what happened on January 24th, 2025. The revision of In the Line of Duty. Because what Sean Bernabe had tried to put forward was treason, y'all. He was such a traitor. And the evidence was so overwhelming that legally they absolutely had to hustle. And, well, President Trump came in. President Trump won. And he came in. And that is, there's so much going on behind the scenes that, and Veronica Escobar refused two times to give us a congressional. Because it wasn't just for us, but it was another soldier. There's a lot of witnesses and whistleblowers, and he got bullied. He got bullied, and we are witnesses to that. I just can't even tell you all the, CID Howell having history, personal history with James Hart. He was the CID Quantico over this case. And he's so, wow. And the Texas Ranger being connected to this group that is totally connected to the Mexican cartel, Willie Moya and Arturo Alba. Family to them, close family. Let's see what Danielle has to say. And you know, her child was an active duty soldier who died in the line of duty. Thank you, Danielle. And wants Richard Halliday's remains for proper burial. Justice last whereabouts were Fort Bliss Army Base Barracks. Yes, and that's documented. So they're saying to us, our son was killed in the line of duty on Fort Bliss, and they don't have to answer for where his remains are and for how he was killed. And so we did it, and we filed it, and they have the answers. And not only, many witnesses. So this whole thing with Iran, okay, it's like another diversion, right? I mean, forever they've been wanting to bomb Iran, right? And all of a sudden, but if Trump did it, it was like, okay, what's really going on here? Let's look at it. What's there? And of course, there's amazing history there. There's amazing um, buildings there, and I posted that up. But guess what? There's drone manufacturing there. Esfahan has drone manufacturing big, and who do they provide it for? They provide it for, and this is in the news. I just did some Google, and then I put it in AI to clarify it, to see what it said. Um, and so take it for what it's worth, but it's already in the news that Iran was providing the kamikaze drones for to bomb Ukraine. And what's one of the things that Trump wants? He wants an end to the Russia Ukraine, which we were pulled in. We were pulled into that, into the Biden, and it's becoming a Trump war when it was a Biden war. And it's the politics are so dirty of it. And it's so Esfahan, Iran, is the place where the Russians would get their drones. Is that what I'm reading? That's what I'm reading. That's what was bombed. They have a steel plant there that supplies the drones with their missile production and whatever they need for these weapons. So if President Trump's, um, was that what he was directing? I don't know. I'm just telling you what's there. And other aircraft is manufactured there. And of course, they have um, a oil refinery there. And Esfahan is a really strategic hit if you want to do them damage for the war machine, right? It's a strategic hit. If all the news is right, which take it for what it's worth, um, there is an oil refinery there, so you can't conduct a war without oil. And we know that with this new report that came out, that's not being reported in the news, that the Mexican cartel, that there are agents, those that are connected to the Mexican cartel that are trafficking in the United States, were trafficking the oil right through El Paso, bringing the fuel right into Mexico. They were trafficking fuel, not just a little bit, loads of it. So, of course, if you don't have fuel, that really harms your movements, right? It just really harms your movement. And Esfahan also has uranium conversion, right? So that's what they're talking about. They give that to us. They didn't talk about the drones. They didn't talk about, I don't know, I didn't listen to all of the press releases, but and press conferences, but it is a it's a very strategic place to hit. The problem is there is cultural and heritage sites, huge sites, and they put it beside, so it's very tricky because anybody that has any kind of decency doesn't want to hit those incredible cultural and heritage sites, because that means a lot to the people. And even strategically, you don't want to damage those, because then all of a sudden you have a huge group of Iranians mad as hell, not because the drones got hit, but because their beautiful heritage sites, their cultural sites, their religious sites got hit. That's, you don't want to hit those sites. You don't want to hit them anyway, but you don't want to go against the people, because the people in Iran, for the most part, they're just victims of a very bad government. Just like, we don't like what our government is doing. So that the whole thing, looking um, at these sites is very interesting, and it gives you a better idea of why maybe they were the targets. Natanz is a nuclear military infrastructure. It also has heritage sites around it, beautiful, and of course they do that on purpose. Um, so is Russia in cooperation with Iran? Absolutely, they are. So are they in cooperation with the nuclear? If they're doing the drones, I think so. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question, but they're in cooperation together. So, um, yeah, was that part of the reason why President Trump decided to go for Natanz also for this nuclear thing? Even though, you know, I think nuclear power is super, um, yeah, it's super valuable, super valuable. So yeah, um, I think we're lied about a lot of things about it, but I think it's amazing energy. And then the last one is Fordo, right? I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And that's fuel enrichment. That's also an air base there. A command center is there with drone operations. So if we're trying to end the war with Russia and Ukraine, I think these three sides are very interesting. Very interesting picks that could absolutely damage the forward action going on in Russia and Ukraine war or conflict, whatever you want to call it. Um, so, yeah, I think it's really interesting to look into things a little bit more and wait a little bit, give it a little time, um, and see what's going on. I think um, we'll see what effects this has on both the Israel Iran conflict, with the Middle East, with the Russian Ukraine conflict, because they're connected. That's one thing this little research absolutely confirms. They're connected. Just like the Walmart mass shooting connected to Richard's case. And absolutely, this FBI disaster and trying to interfere with the election is absolutely connected to El Paso. And that the FBI has protected Leilani Hart, which absolutely no way should they have ever done. They should absolutely arrest her. Absolutely arrest her, and we would get so many more answers. But she is just so arrestable. I mean, it's confirmed. She's arrestable because of her affidavit. So, either which way, true or not true, she has to be arrested. And we could get so many more answers to this unresolved case of our son which was an organized taking of his life after retaliation, and then disrespecting his body. And that's why, and we know this, that's why they don't want to give us our son's remains, because it implicates him so bad. It just it would blow the whole thing over up, and we want our son's remains, and that will really hold so many people accountable. So, so thank you, Danielle, for your uh, all your posts, and Martha, thank you so much for your prayers and your love, and um, same thing with Anicia, and you know, there are people that um, you know, just hear Trump's word or see the red hat, and um, because there's uh, family members that came illegally. They brought people over. They promised them all kinds of stuff. They took advantage of them. And it's so hard to say, you know what, I was taken advantage of. I need to go back home. I need to do this right. It's so hard, because we don't even know all those circumstances, but it has to happen. And that's why there's angry people. And, so my grandfather came over to the United States right in the 1930s, and when a war broke out with Germany, since he was German, um, they said you have to go into a camp for 3 years. Or you have to go into a camp with these other Japanese people because we're at war with Germany. And you had these ties with the plumbing. See, the plumbing, he didn't want to join the party. He came over to the United States. They couldn't take a risk. He never complained. He said, I'm American. I'm pro USA. I left Germany. And he never looked back. And he didn't go back to Germany until he was like we were stationed there, and he hadn't been back in 70 years, and it was right before he passed away, and he came over to Germany. It was just like, wow. It's just we absolutely understand. My mom, she gave up her German citizenship. At White Sands. She became an American citizen at White Sands, New Mexico, right where I was born. She learned English. So I absolutely understand, um, you know, um, what some of these families are going through and what our country um, or did in the last 4 years. So, hopefully it's we'll resolve it real quick. I don't know. I don't think so. It's just so crazy. But we do have to protect our country. And our country has been through the ringer. And we're not a perfect country. But that doesn't give us any excuse. We have to absolutely work hard to make it right. And that requires borders and laws. And so, you're wrong twice. Your Governor Abbott is up to no good, absolutely. But he even a broken clock is right twice a day, and he got this right, putting the Ten Commandments back in the schools. And and I'm not, I'm all for homeschooling. Let's get rid of public schooling altogether, and lessen taxes, and try to figure something else out for parents and children. Let's figure something else out, because what's been going on with the ISDs are just criminal. Criminal. They've been trafficking through the ISDs. And I knew that the ISDs were a problem, but in El Paso, it is a huge problem. I mean, you have the likes of Amber Chase working for ISD, for El Paso ISD. You have the likes of Manuel Chavira, who is family with Willie Moya and Arturo Alba, being the chief of police for the ISD. Come on. And there's so many more. There's so many more. You have Priscilla Mata getting that sweetheart job in the ISD. Yeah, no. The ISDs are a big problem, and they were, getting these contracts and building all these schools in El Paso, making the El Pasoans pay all this taxes, and then they didn't have enough children to even fill up all these schools, so they charge more and more taxes to get buses, nice luxury buses, to go over to Mexico to pick up kids there, to bring the children back over here to be educated in El Paso, in the El Paso school districts, and then take them back home across the border into Mexico. And they charge the El Pasoans these outrageous property taxes. It's like almost the highest in the country, because some fat cat contractors or whoever organized it wants to line their pocket. And so it's just fraud. And so now the borders close and the schools are like empty, and they want to close 8 of them. They wanted to close 8, I think 7. And I don't know, they got this big budget now again. And anytime they get this big budget, they're charging the people all these taxes. And then Okay, and then the proof is in the pudding. So then what's going on? The girls are joining some kind of uh, only whatever to sell themselves online. That's what's going on. This unbelievable amount of people that are young women are joining that. I mean, it's crazy right now. So that's what we're getting for our education money. No, um, I have to speak out about it, because this is um, this is our country, and these are our children, um, and they're being taken advantage of, and they're being groomed, and they're being, and then they um, get abused. 14-year-old living in the barracks for 4 months. Can you imagine? I can't even imagine. So we have to speak out about it. It's wrong. And we have the right to speak out about it, because it's a government of the people, by the people, for the people. And they work for us. The people that make these decisions, like Veronica Escobar, they work for us. And she's forgot that. She's working for some billionaire. And Ted Cruz is working for Israel. And Lindsey Graham, is working for the war machine industry. So, they've just lost touch of, there's no oversight against them. They need to be held responsible for their bad, being a traitor, foreign and domestic enemies. That's who they're working for. So, thank you so much, everybody. And I hope that those posts help. They would go across from McAllen to Reynoso in, I don't know how to pronounce that word, Tamaulipas, to pick up kids and take them back in the afternoon. Yeah, and thank you so much for saying that. They would absolutely do that. And they charge El Pasoans that, really are having a hard time. I can't tell you how many people have declared bankruptcy. These taxes are so high. So they absolutely took advantage of the people, and these and the money went to these big contractors that, it was grand theft larceny. That's what it was. And then it made things worse off in Mexico because Mexico were like, okay, we're getting over on the people. We're going to charge um, uh, our Juarez natives for education, but we don't have to educate them. We'll just pocket that money and we'll let the kids be picked up and taken over to the United States and get the education. I mean, it was all such a scam. It was just one crime after the next. It's just one crime after the next. And, instead of being responsible for the children and for the money that you're collecting, to actually educate the children, and then that leads to even more crimes and more, um, extortion, and then the extortion leads to arguments, and the arguments lead to more crime and deals, wheel and deals behind the scene of more crimes, and it's just yeah, it has to stop. It has to stop. And then if you have someone that says something, then they take your life. And in Juarez, it's really bad. It's so bad. What, 80 in May alone, and now, just recently the two hanging. Um, it's so bad. So it has to stop. And I just thank you for your support. I thank you for coming on a Sunday night when we're burning the midnight oil like every night. And please share all this information, and we'll try to do this legally, um, through our system, strengthen our system by doing it, strengthen Mexico by doing it. Um, everything has an effect, and focus on getting justice, accountability, and only good will come from that. So thank you so much. And it's not easy, right? It's not easy. But thank you so much. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow.